Hey, and welcome to another video sponsored by omlpatches.com, brought to you by omlembroidery.com. So we're going to keep doing more YouTube videos. What we'd like to do is have some more. What we do is we'd like to have more likes and more subscribers, and then we can keep on doing many more videos because we really enjoy making them, and it seems like we have quite a few views and quite a few subscribers, and you guys seem to be enjoying them. So we'd like to keep making them. We'd also like to announce that we're doing classes. You can do live webinar classes. We've done 2 or 3, maybe I think maybe 4 in the past, and they've been very successful. So if you'd like to join in on a class, we usually digitize something or work on a project or work on a certain subject. The one coming up on Sunday is going to be all about beginners, starting right at the beginning. So anyone who is just starting to learn Embird, you should come to that class and you'll learn how to set it up and everything you need to know to get started and feel really comfortable in it. At the end of the class, we usually leave 15 or 20 minutes so you can ask questions. And a lot of people have been finding that very helpful. But for YouTube videos, what we're going to do for the next couple of weeks is we're going to address your questions on the videos. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment and perhaps we can go through and solve your problems. If it's a common problem, we can work on that. So for today, we're going to discuss one of the biggest mistakes that it seems every beginner seems to make. And it will really wreck your embroidery, and it could possibly quite ruin your machine. So what it is the understanding between the 3 modules of Embird. There's manager, there's editor, and then there's studio. And each one of these modules, it seems a little bit confusing at first, because what's this for? Why can't I do this? Okay, it's probably because it's in a different module. So manager is just basically what it sounds like, managing your files. You can do different things, and we'll actually do a video on manager. We don't use it a whole lot, but we do use it. It's not for digitizing, it's not for anything else, just basically managing your files. That's how to remember it. Editor is, I kind of call it the middle, and it's for making small edits on files. Studio is your digitizing studio, and that's where you should do all of your digitizing. And I'm going to show you exactly why people are running into problems. So here's something my husband digitized, and it's from a video game, so la-di-da. Now it's quite large. I've zoomed in a bit, so let's get a little closer. You can see here it's got some fancy stitches in it. It's kind of almost a full back. Let's see, look over here. It's 725 by 604, and it has 29,000 stitches. So basically, now we're in editor. So you can resize this, but only by a little bit. Editor is not made to change, it won't change anything. It'll change a little bit of the stitches, but if, let's look here. So this is a DST file, by the way. So let's make this quite a bit bigger. We're going to put it to 10, 11, maybe 12. And once we let go, you can see it starts having flaws. And if you look at the whole thing, and it's in one piece, it's now 51,000 stitches. But you can look, the density, see that looks pretty good. Going up is not a problem. You will probably find on this that your stitches are kind of sparse and you won't get good coverage. If you notice here, there's little spaces, and it won't be as nice. So that was way too big. Let's put it back up to where it was. This is the size that we digitized in it. So let's make this a lot smaller, and let's look at it. So it is 5,000 stitches. How about we zoom in a little bit here? Yeah, it kind of loses all of its shape, and kind of because we made it really small. The biggest problem is density. Look at that. If you went to put that on your machine, it's really not going to stitch out. That is going to be a mess. It's going to be, we here in Canada call it a hockey puck. because everything is so dense you can't do it. So I find that a lot of people are doing that. So what they do is they get a pre-digitized design from wherever and they want to add things to it. Now that's fine. Look, we can do that. I'll show you. This is the original size because I reversed everything. So let's put some lettering in there. OML Embroidery.com. So there we go. We'll just leave it blue. And that will stitch out fine. Now let's look at the density map. See, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red. It will generally stitch out fine. Lettering is always going to have a little bit of yellow and a little bit of red just by its nature. X-ray, you can look at that. For some reason, see now I would go back and check to see what that issue is there because that doesn't look so good to me. So that's fine. You can do that. So you pull in a pre-digitized thing, but say you want to make some changes to it. Well, you really can't. You can't do a whole lot. I showed you about the sizes. I showed you even with the lettering. Now watch, you can make the lettering bigger. Of course, that's really big. And look what happens. It doesn't compensate for it because that's not what editor's for. So edit, undo, edit. You can also use keyboards for the undo. I'm just a mouse-driven person, so I do everything by mouse. But you can see that it doesn't compensate for it. It doesn't change it. Everything's going to be too dense or not dense enough, and you're going to end up with issues. So if you take a pre-digitized design and leave it at the same size, you're okay to add a little bit of lettering. But you can't change it. I wouldn't even change it more than 10%. So say if we wanted to, make this a tiny bit better to fit in the hoop. See, we can do that and it's not, oh, but it did. Look at that. So yeah, you can't change that one. So what happened there is that it didn't compensate for the changes. And let's look in right here. There's the phone. Isn't that awesome? If you look in right here, you can see that there's a lot of mistakes. It changed everything. And there's no more covering stitches. I don't even know what that is. So the moral of the story, just don't. If you want to make any good changes, I would suggest digitizing everything. Let's go into Studio and let's look at this natively because it was created in the first place as an EOF file. So let's go look at it. Saints Row. Looks pretty good. Can't really see anything, I guess, until we generate it. But you can see now this is grouped, but you can see that everything was generated, created. Try to remember that. Studio is your digitizing studio. And you could make changes to parts of it. Let's ungroup it and see what we have. It's all just neat and tidy. Ungroup it again because that didn't seem to do anything. Ungroup 2. And there you go. Now you have your elements. That's how you know it's been created natively in Studio. Now with something that's created native in Studio, say for example, let's get rid of that. Let's go to delete and do some new lettering. omlembroidery.com, and I think I need a capital there, just the way we like it. And I like that font, so we're going to leave it. So you can generate it. And I always, with lettering, because there's so many little pieces to it, I always group it. So if I want to move it around, I can easily do that. Now, let's look at it 3D. Okay, I didn't generate that. That's why it didn't come up. That looks pretty good. Let's make it way bigger. And you remember when we were in editor, it kind of messed it up. So that's way, way bigger. Go up here to generate and see it compensates for it and it sets the right density. Oh, and I have an extra L. Awesome. It has compensated for it. It's reset the stitches. The density is exactly the same. And again, with lettering, there's going to be a little bit. But look, there really is only a little bit compared to what it would have been in Studio. Sorry, not in Studio. Wow. Feels like a Monday today. So let's look at the other part of the design that was created from a picture, from a JPEG in here. So we've got to generate the stitches. And my Mac is going to be slow. Oh, it's going to be very slow. All right, now we're happening. And remember, this is 7¼ by just over 6. And it has 30,000 stitches. And it looks good. This is probably start and end points. I would look through and fix that, but we're not going to do that today. So say we want to make it quite small, about say 50%, half the size. Generate it and see, it still looks good. You can check the density. Little bit in there, I'm not sure what those lines are, but I would look at that and figure it out. So you can see them really clearly. That's density map. You can see it a bit in the x-ray. You can see something's going on there. Maybe it doubled over or something. I'm not really sure. This was done quite a few years ago. But you can see that's good, whereas in editor it just wasn't. So you have to be careful. Now a lot of people think, okay, well I can bypass that and I can go into bring a design in to editor and then bring it into Studio and then it's an EOF file. No, it isn't. It's still not natively designed, like started from nothing in Studio, so you will still have the same problems. And really, you can't. It will mess up your embroidery. The density when it with it's being so tight or too loose, you're going to have different sets of problems, and it just won't be very nice embroidery. So yes, you can use different designs digitized by other people, but you really can't change them. You can add to them, like we had in editor. You can add a name. You can add, a lettering. You could add maybe a design behind it or something. But you really should not change the actual design because you're going to end up with trouble. You're going to end up with puckering. You're going to end up with gaps. You're going to end up with, things not being right. And it just really won't look good. So that is question number one, and it's the biggest mistake that beginners make, that they think just because it's in Studio that it's a native EOF file, and it's not, and you really can't do anything with it. So just enjoy other people's work if they're digitizing. The best thing you can do is take a picture as a backdrop and digitize it yourself in native EOF. That means starting from the beginning, and then you can make it big, you can make it small, you can change things around, you can change it more, and then you will have wonderful embroidery and wonderful stitch outs. Anyways, thank you for watching the video. Like our videos. The more attention we get, the more videos we will make. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. And if you have questions that you'd like to be shown the answer, just put a comment down at the bottom of the video, and we will see you next time. Happy digitizing.